GMPs is not necessarily the best price you can get.
No. But what I'm saying is, as a customer, that's ideal to you
because it's easy.
Well, and because this, if I'm budgeting, as I'm Google or whatever, I'm building a new building, and I know I have to estimate what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And I know that I've put in this contingency for a certain amount, and we've agreed upon it, that if there are any additional change orders beyond this point, it's not going to cost me anything.
Right.
As a customer.
Yeah.
And I know that, if I'm budgeting for this,
this
is
the
my
most
maximum
I'm going to
amount.
spend. Yeah.
Whereas with the normal project, the bid itself may come in lower, but there's a risk there.
It's
that
generally like anywhere from 15 to 25% that you're going to increase from contractual amount.
It's the ProfitDig radio show. That's our big intro. Yeah. Y'all don't walk right in the middle of a conversation here.
Yep. That's okay. It's okay. You like GMPs?
No.
Let's define, since we're coming into a video, what is a GMP, Jeff?
GMP is what we call a guaranteed maximum price. And a lot of GCs will offer this to their customer. Most of the time it's like a design build type thing to where you're kind of eliminating the architects and engineers. You as a GC and your subs are kind of designing this thing along the way and going with it. And you give a guaranteed maximum price, GMP. So the owner, which, it may be a county entity, or it may be a owner that's wanting to build a certain size structure, to run his business out of. Could be a train station, hell, who knows? Yeah.
Could be.
But
that? It's the sound of industry.
That's it, yeah.
It is the sound.
That's money moving.
That's right.
But I don't necessarily like them, but the guaranteed maximum price. And the reason I say that is, as a sub, I've been on the good and the bad of both ends. Mm-hmm. So I've learned over the years, whenever I'm bidding on a project and designing a project that has a GMP, I'm going to elevate my price, because there's a chance if I have a change order issue come up, I may not get paid for it. So where I normally have like a 10 to 15% markup, as far as my profit margin, I may run at a 20 to 30% markup. And so is your customer getting the best alternative? I'm going to say 85% of the time, no, they're not. And, there's different scenarios. Different contractors offer a return. All of them offer a return. If we save X amount of money, what we're going to do is we're going to give back our customer, some of them say 70-30. I'm going to give the customer back 30%, I'm going to keep 70%. Some of them say 60-40. I'm going to give the customer back 60%, but I'm going to keep 40.
Yeah, but that's in your bid.
That's in your bid.
That's when it comes to the table during the bidding process.
Yeah. But a lot of people like it because they know when they agree on this price, whether it be outrageous or not, it's like, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm not going to pay a penny more because in my contract, I'm not going to pay a penny more than this.
Right.
I can go on about my everyday life. I can do this. I can do that. I don't have to worry about this project because I know it's going to cost me X amount of dollars. And there's a chance I may get a decent return on it.
Sure.
But what they don't realize in a long picture, of the grand scheme of things is they may be paying more than what they could if they went back to a hard bid.
Right.
Is it, and at that point you got to decide, is it really more feasible to go ahead and pay my architect and my engineers to fully design this thing and get hard numbers and then deal with a few change orders?
Yeah.
But, in my opinion, in my experience, a GMP is just a way to belittle the owner and potentially make a major profit on a project. Because what happens in the grand scheme of things, like I'm a sub, all right, you're a GC, I give you bids. We go through stages of bidding up until we get to like 85, 90% drawings.
Right.
When we get to this point, then we're pretty much at hard numbers. So you call me, we negotiate a contract, we're going to do this thing. I've elevated my prices because I know there's a chance I may get hung. Well, what happens is this contractor is the one, the GC is the one that's going to make the most money. Because when you come up with the issue, if it's unforeseen or something that wasn't in the design, there's a chance you may get a change order. They've got a contingency plan. They've got X amount of dollars up here they're willing to give back to their subs. So it's like first come, first serve. If you're
lucky the draw at that
right,
point.
yeah. So if you have more changes or more unseen things that may not have been in your bid, then there's a chance you may get a lump sum of that money. As progress goes on, they're less willing to give out that money because that's the money they're going to give back to the owner.
So as a subcontractor bidding on a job, do I know that it's that type of contract, or is that?
Well, generally, like whenever a GC reaches out to me to give a bid, they'll say on there it's a GMP project.
Okay.
So I know at that point, that, hey, I may be hung out to dry.
Yeah, you need to inflate some prices.
Right.
Yeah.
And, maybe you're a new construction owner. At this point, you may not be familiar with a GMP. So there's a chance, you could get hung and it could cost you some dollars. So, I guess it's kind of a heads up to you guys out there, make sure that you know what you're getting into when you bid a GMP, because there's a chance that you may incur an additional cost and you may not get compensated for it.
Are these usually generic contingencies? Like, is it just one broad contingency, or is it often broken down into different segments of the project?
It's hard for me to say because I've always been a sub. I haven't been at GC level to.
So you've only seen your section.
I've only seen my section. I can't really say how many sections they have, but I know early on, I may get a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, but as that money depletes, then they put a halt on it. It's like, nope, no more money. You should have designed this, or you should have incorporated this in your bid originally. Yeah. So it can get pretty nasty, if you're not prepared for it.
Well, hopefully the contractor's been using an application like ProfitDig, so they have lots of bids with cost and various scenarios in there.
Themselves,
so yeah, absolutely. So
and
they've seen some things and done some things,
right?
So.
But especially when it comes to taxpayers, kind of there's a lot of I guess municipalities, or not really municipalities, but like government structures that go up, and they are seeking out GMPs, just because they don't have to go back before their commission. They don't have to go back, and ask for more money. It's like, we've got this approved through our commission, through our budget. Hey, we got this money allocated.
Right. We've got X amount of dollars.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
But they may be paying 10, 20, 25, 30% more than what it would have cost them to go to a hard bid.
But it's guaranteed.
But it's guaranteed.
There's no risk associated.
There's no risk associated.
Right. It's like insurance.
The risk is all on a GC at this point.
Yeah.
So, with anything else, in all due respect, you can't really blame a GC for not elevating their price because they're taking the risk.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Absolutely.
But, the bidding procedures have been like they have been for many years. And this seems to be a new trend, over the last probably 5 to 10 years where we're giving a GMP price.
So that is kind of a newer trend.
Yeah, in my aspect, I've only seen it in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, have they been given before then? Maybe so. Maybe it's a negotiated thing, but it's getting to be more public now. As far as GMPs go. But
it's accelerated growth. Wouldn't that influence that as well?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
things pick up the market.
Yeah. Now, do you have any authority or leverage as a subcontractor to say, I would like to have a percentage of that contingency based on.
You can put your own contingency in your bid as you're submitting to a GC, and that may cost you the job. You got to really be careful about how much money you put into it, because you still want to be awarded a project. You still want to work on this project. But, you can classify your bid however you want to classify it, but at the end of the day, it's a guaranteed maximum price. We've already negotiated, and that's what really sucks for us subs, because the GC has already negotiated this price with the owner. So now, we're bidding this thing, and and what happens on GMPs is like your GCs a lot of times will look at previous projects that are similar to this one, which is like they're using this old project as a template, in which I don't like, because what they do is they go in and elevate their prices based off of this per square foot or whatever it may be, and then they're using that as a guideline. Well, as they bid, their price goes up, it goes down, it fluctuates. But I would hate to be the owner thinking that, hey, I'm getting priced out based off of my neighbor's project over here. It may not be your neighbor, but someone similar.
Sure.
So as an owner, it's not really to your benefit.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And, you're generally looking at, about a 15 to 25% increase in marginal price as far as change orders go. And that'll be per scope of work, but in the grand scheme of things, that's a 15 to 25% increase. You're going to look. So if you've got a $10 million job, that looks detrimental. But if you're paying 25, 30% more for a guaranteed maximum price, there's like 10, 15% savings you could possibly have there.
It could go either way.
It could go either way.
I think as a customer, I would see the advantage in the GMP.
Yeah.
And as a subcontractor on the other end, I would
Makes
say
me nervous.
this would be a huge risk.
Well, I don't know.
Because your change orders may not be a direct result of your own fault.
Right.
You may be dealing with something that was external to your control,
But
that you have to account for.
Sure.
I have to disagree with you a little bit on that, GFG, because as from an owner's standpoint, I don't know if it's me being, tight or whatever you want to call it, but I would hate to know that I'm going to be paying 10, 15, 20% more. Sometimes you got to roll the dice and take a risk.
Well, sure.
To me, it's kind of like insurance. It's like you're saying,
sure. It's
okay,
insurance.
Yeah.
I'll pay 15% more in case shit goes real wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and if
But
you
like I say, Jeff, that could be millions of
Could be
dollars.
millions of dollars. It
Could
depends on the
be.
size of your project. It could be, if you're looking at, a 20, 30, 40, $50 million project, or even $100 million project, you just stop and do the math, 15, 20% extra.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's a down payment on your next project.
as a large company, with your own budgetary cycles, you have to do approvals for future years to be able to confidently say we have budgeted the exact amount that we need, and anything that goes under budget is profit for us.
Yeah.
I would look at that and say, yes, in the long run, maybe it won't be as much cost savings to us,
Yeah.
but there's no wild card here.
Well,
So, but I
It's
think
on
it is
the-
a trade-off.
it's on the
It is a
books.
trade-off.
trade-off.
Yeah,
And one decent thing about it, I'm not going to say good thing, but decent thing about it is most of the time you're audited at the end of the project. So you've already offered up front, you're going to give the owner X amount of percent of savings. You're going to keep X amount of percent. So at the end of the job, you're audited. You audit that project, you look at what actual savings were made. So you may get that 10 or 15% back, but there's a good chance that it may go full budget. There may not be any savings. So, you've paid this job where if you had done a hard bid, there's potential that, you could have actually saved a portion of that money. So, like I said, it depends on your region, depends on where you're at, it depends on the GC that actually gets a contract, depends on the subs they put in line. So, it's a hit or miss type thing, but to me, it kind of takes the risk ability out of it. It's like, hey, we're all going to make money. So, in my view, it's like, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to look at this job. I'm going to give you the best number I can. I'm going to stand behind it. You qualify your bid. These are the things I'm including. These are the things I'm excluding. So your GC has to be, and if it's all inclusive bid, then I've got to handle all these inclusive things. I've got to look at if it's unqualified. So if there's rock, I've got to handle rock. I can't talk to the structural stuff because I don't do structural, but I'm just talking about grading and utilities. So anything I may encounter, I've got to allocate for that in my bid. Mm-hmm. So if my competition is allocating for that, we should have a pretty fair market, as far as bids go. We should be in 5% or less difference of each other. but you're like taking the risk ability away from everyone. It's like I give you a GMP, it's an elevated price. It's going to end up costing you 20% more in the long run, but everything's good. You ain't got to worry about anything. It's kind of a lazy way out in my opinion.
I'll tell you what I think. At ProfitDig, we like to keep our videos under 20 minutes. So
you're turning us off?
Check us out online at ProfitDig.com. Follow us, y'all. We in there. We ain't making no money making these videos. We trying to provide value to you people to help you build bigger, more successful construction companies.
Yep.
And give you a product that you can afford.
Well, if you happen to end up needing a construction bidding and costing solution, check us out.
Which you probably do.
Yeah.
Most construction companies do. If you have a construction company and you don't need a construction bidding and costing solution, you're probably doing something wrong.
You're slowly going out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, subscribe, whatever.
All that good stuff.
Listening to us or watching us.
Yep. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Thank you guys.
ProfitDig.com.
Pause that some this year.
Yes.